I request all the speakers to switch on their videos.
Shall we start?
We still have 2 minutes.
Okay.
Ma'am, I think we can start. It's 5.
Yeah. Just check. Nitish sir is here.
Yeah, I'm here, ma'am.
Sure. Let's start then.
Okay. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Ritika Verma. Our webinar topic is career options after law, including the importance of participating in law competitions. I would like to thank Ms. Charu Dureja, our faculty convener, for organizing this webinar, and Dr. Monica Sharma, a director principal of RCL. Just a little instructions before we get started. Keep your mics muted and videos off. Certificates will be given to the participants within 2 weeks. Now, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Nitish Upadhyay, Assistant Professor of Law at Galgotias University, West Bengal. He has done his LLM from WBNUJS, Kolkata, has conducted various moots, debates, quiz competition, and several workshops, and presented many research papers in national as well as in international seminars and conferences. He is founder of knowledgetees.com. He received various scholarships and in year 2015 was awarded with title of Social Change Maker 2015. He's working as a mentor and we thank him for his constant support. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Mr. Nitesh Upadhyay.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
So their mics are muted, so they will not speak.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll start.
Yes, sir.
Okay, hi, everyone. I'm Nitish Kumar Upadhyay. Already a brief introduction of mine has been given. I'm a professor and I'm also an entrepreneur. I juggle between both. I manage my website and I also teach in Galgotia University. Regarding career options, the first thing that I would like to start off with that if I can do, there is all probabilities that everybody can do it and achieve what I have achieved in my life in terms of scholarships and things that I have got. So been to a lot of countries, even I took lectures abroad. So all this happened because there was a vision that I wanted to do something. So I have in my college life, I have tried almost doing everything. I have gone to LPO. I have understand what kind of work LPO do. Then I have joined a law firm as a intern and I have work over there. And then I found out, okay, this is not a right suited place for me because I cannot work till 11 or 12 in the night and, then come back home. And then I have also practiced, I started practicing under a lawyer in Patiala House Court and then High Court. And then I found that, okay, this work is also, I may not be suitable. So the first thing is that when you are in your law school, make sure do as maximum as internships as you can in good places and better places, because this will give you a first hand learning and will also help you out to make a right choice for your career. Furthermore, in terms of doing events and all, I was very active when I was in law school, but that time there were not so many websites. So whatever information that we used to get was from our faculty members and by sometimes by our peer mates. But usually there was a society that was divided on the basis of information. So all the National Law School people were having certain information, but other school people, other law school, private university people do not used to have these informations with them. And because of which I started Knowledge Teas in 2011 to remove this information divide between so-called the elitist law school and other law schools in India. And we did a lot of programs. We actually gathered a lot of information shared. We kept information free till now. So almost whatever information is there on Knowledge Teas will be free, is been free, and will always be free for students, because that was our basic motto. In terms of when you are talking what all you can do, there are a lot of ways in which you can build your CV. So first thing is everybody will tell you, okay, do Moot, do Model United Nation, go for parliamentary debates. You can also look forward for writing papers and going for conferences, workshops and all. So there are plethora of activities, especially for law students, that you can do. And there is something that you require to do which makes you stand out of the whole crowd. So there are a few things that I will be discussing during this workshop, that what else you can do to build your CV and to make you stand out. So first thing I will be discussing is as I already said, that we wanted to remove the information divide. The first way of removing the information divide is to share all the information from where you can get information. So first is we will be discussing about some of the scholarship websites. The first thing that is there in mind of all the law student is that they can go for LLM scholarships, but no, you can go for a lot of other scholarships during your summer and winter, for winter schools, summer schools, for conferences, youth programs, for boot camps and all, and you all are eligible for it. Only you require is one SOP, statement of purpose, and 2 letter of recommendations. So statement of purpose is basically why you wanted to pursue that course or pursue that conference or youth forum or boot camp, and what will be your benefit and what will be the benefit of the society if you have been awarded such a scholarship. So around 2 pages you have to give it in SOP. If you want to know about how to write an SOP, then you can on Knowledge Teas right hand side, if you drag down, you will find that there is a tab which says how to write a statement of purpose. Next is 2 letter of recommendations. 2 letter of recommendations is nothing more, is more or less like a character certificate by your dean, director, or by the people with whom you have worked. So when you have interned, or maybe you have being in touch since long, so they can give you a letter of recommendation that okay, XYZ student is a very good student, we know him since so many years and he is good at research or this and that, and everything they can write on this, and this is basically a LOR. So if you have 1 SOP and 2 LORs, you are eligible to apply for most of the short-term scholarships. There will be thousands of students in law school, in any one law school, but if you ask that how many of them have gone abroad on a scholarship for any program, even for a day, you will find that the answer is no in most of the universities. So this make you stand out. So there are a lot of websites on which you can go and find out these informations. The first one is Youth OP. So if you have a pen and paper, just keep it with you for the next 20 seconds. I'll be just giving the name of the websites and you can just write it down. The first is Youth OP. Youth Opportunities is the name, but you have to, on Google, you have to only write Youth OP. It shares all the short-term, long-term scholarships. Next is Opportunity Point. Opportunity Point. Next is Opportunity Wow. Opportunity WOW. Opportunity Wow. Opportunity WOW. Next is ARMACAD. ARMACAD. Next is ARMACAD. 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 Next is We Make Scholars. WEMAKE Scholars. We Make Scholars. Next is scholarshippositions.com. Scholarshippositions.com. Then there is also a website which share all the interdisciplinary scholarships for students. That is INCOMICS. INCOMICS. INCOMICS, in comics. Next website is Buddy for Study, BUDDY for study, Buddy for study. Then the last website for short-term and long-term scholarship is OYA Scholarships. OYA Scholarships or Opportunity. If you just type on Google, you will get a website. So these are the number of websites from which you can find the short-term scholarships for summer program, winter program, for conferences, boot camps, youth forums, youth policy forums, youth diplomatic forums and all. So, and I have already told you, just require SOP and LOR to apply to these places. So after this, how you can build your CV, not just in terms of scholarships, but otherwise also, which you require even if you're not planning to go for a scholarship, you wanted to go for a law firm job or any job, you require a good CV. So you require to do a lot of conferences and call for papers things also. So which all website you will visit? The first website that most of you must be knowing is Loctopus. This is by one of the student from my same university, NUJS Kolkata. I was LLM and he was LLB student there. Loctopus. After Loctopus, Knowledge Teas you must be knowing. You are attending a workshop also this time. And then next is Law of, LAWOF, Law of. Law of. After Law of, you have a website called Legal Bytes, Legal BITES, Legal Bytes. Next is kachehri.in, KATCHERI.in, KATCHERI.in, kachehri.in. Next is conferencealerts.com, conferencealerts.com, ALERTS. This shares conferences worldwide, so you can just select a country, you can select a month, and then you can find out the right conference for you. So this is one of the best website for international conferences. Then you have a website called Philosophy News in India. Philosophy News in India. This is again an interdisciplinary website which shares a lot of conferences related to law, philosophy, and psychology and all. So these are the websites for call for paper, conferences, internships. So they do multiple jobs. All the websites that are given are doing multiple jobs. They're sharing multiple things and they're working in multiple domains. The next is for internships. So for students, internships is very important. So I say a good CV gives you a good internship and a good internship give you a good job. So this is how is the trajectory goes. So you need to have a very good CV to get a good internship and then very good internships to get a good job, because internships build your networking and people see your work. So there are a lot of time, there are options that you are being given pre-placement offers. So in this, for internship, you have a website called Click Internship. Click Internship, CLICK Internship. Next is Internshala, INTERNSHALA, Internshala. Next is Let's Intern, LETS Intern, Let's Intern. After intern, you have a TWNTY19 called UN internships. So one of my student in 5th year, she is doing an internship with the UN Regional Commission at Thailand right now. And she's stuck over there because of the COVID-19. So her internship was supposed to be of 2 months, but I think she had an extended internship for 6 months or so. So maybe a good or bad time will tell how it goes for her. So you can also look for UN internships. Then there are a lot of mock courses, massive open online courses you can do. There are a lot of free courses. I'll definitely share in the group some details of some free courses that you can do to boost your CV. Now that most of us, like a concern. So next is how to write papers, plagiarism, and how you can find material online. So I will be discussing in 3 different parts. First is what is plagiarism, how you can avoid. Maybe I have a problem in terms of pronunciating it in terms of plagiarism or something, but it's okay. You just need to learn it rather than understand the word by word meaning of it. So it's only says that when you fail to attribute somebody's work, you have to be caught for something that is called plagiarized work. So you need to attribute. You need to attribute to whose work you are copying or you are looking at. So if I say a bottle will go up, will always come down. This is not my theory. This is Newton theory, which says anything that goes up will definitely come down. So there is just a change of a word that I made, and I can say that, okay, this is my theory. No, this is not my theory. This still remains the Newton's theory. So in terms of when you are talking what is plagiarism, whenever you are copying somebody's work intentionally or unintentionally, it is plagiarism. Now, types of plagiarisms. The first type of plagiarism is called verbatim plagiarism, where you copy everything. So word by word you have copied, that is verbatim plagiarism. Next is mosaic plagiarism. Mosaic plagiarism is that you have downloaded 30 articles, you have gone through 30 articles, you have copied one para from each article, and your new article is ready with the footnotes and everything, but you have not written a single word in this particular article. So that is mosaic plagiarism. Then there is a plagiarism called paraphrasing plagiarism. There are a lot of people think that, okay, if an article is there and you will paraphrase, you can be, saved from plagiarism charges. But I tell you, all the softwares now, Turnitin, Nurkund, and all the top level plagiarized detection softwares, they can very easily catch you for paraphrasing. So Nitish Kumar Upadhyay is my name. My name is Nitish Kumar Upadhyay. The sense is same. The alignment of word is different. So even if you are doing this, you are plagiarizing. Also, the next is ghost writing. The last type of plagiarism, people just go buy their projects from somewhere, get somebody to write. Sometimes they buy from senior, or they just ask seniors, can you provide me a particular article or something? So ghost writing. These are the basic types of plagiarism that is there. And now there is a rule regarding plagiarism, and this is very important. So if you are taking less than 7 words, you need not to footnote. If you are taking less than 7 words, you need not to footnote. If you are taking more than 7 words and less than 50 words, so a cap is between 7 to 50. So if you are taking more than 7 words but less than 50 words, then you have to mark a footnote. And if it's a quotation, you have to also give a quotation mark. So you have to mark a footnote, and you have to give if it's a quotation, you have to give a quotation mark. If it is above 50, if it is beyond 50, first of all, try avoiding it. Never copy something which is beyond 50 words. But sometimes, because there are some things which you cannot just change in law field, maybe an article or a section or a court judgment text, so you need to do it. In this particular case, everything will be changed, and now you have to take care of 4 things. First, the normal article is in the font size of 12, but this text which is beyond 50 words will be reduced to a font size of 10. Otherwise, the font size 10 is used for footnoting. So if you are copying more than 50 words, font size will be 10, italics, and footnote. So 3 things you have to do: font size 10, italics the text, and footnote. And if it's a quotation mark, the last thing, give a quotation mark too. So if you're following this rule, all these plagiarism detection software will also allow you to copy more than 50 words, but do not copy. I've already said that please avoid doing it. If you have to necessarily do it, it's a necessary evil, then maybe you can do it and you can follow this particular rule. So this is all about plagiarism. Now, when you are online, you get a lot of material, you get a lot of authenticated material, you get a lot of non-authenticated material. Now you have to filter. So first thing is I'll be discussing about what are authenticated sources, what are non-authenticated sources, and then we will be discussing about how to use Google operands for your research. So in terms of authenticated sources, rather than discussing about them, better to discuss about unauthenticated sources. The first day when I went to my college, my faculty said that please do not use Wikipedia ever in your research, because this is an editable source. Anybody can go and edit, and sometimes some information which you do not know and somebody has edited, you may end up using in your research paper. So avoid using Wikipedia. Avoid using any question answer website, Yahoo question answers, Quora, and Wiki question answers, anything, any question answer websites, avoid. Avoid using social networking sites. Please do not use them. avoid using websites which are predatory or which looks like predatory in nature, where there are a lot of unstandard articles are there. So there is a website called Legal Service India, which is one of the website. If students are writing articles, all the faculty members would agree with me, there will be somewhere mentioning Legal Service India, and Legal Service India publishes all the articles written by students, which are most of the time 70 to 80% plagiarized. So if you're copying from a plagiarized material and even giving footnote, you are not safe. You can still be caught for charges of plagiarism because you are not telling the right person to whom this work belongs. So avoid academic, avoid Indian legal Indian service website for copying these articles. Also, if there are websites which are anonymous, there is no name to it, please do not use them for your research paper. Now, authenticated sources, you can use government data, you can use anything that end up with top level domain of gov.in, nic.in, edu.in, any educational website you can use. In terms of blogs, you cannot use blogs, but you can use blogs if they belong to a reputed person. So if a blog by, let's take Professor MP Singh is there, you can use, but if a blog on constitutional law by me is there, you will not be using it. So you just need to see that, okay, who is the person behind that blog. So if there is a blog by a student of Rayat College, you will not be using it. But if the blog is by Rayat College, then you can use the blog also for your research. You can use company website, you can use international NGOs and national NGO websites for your research. So this is all about how you can segregate authenticated material from non-authenticated material. And now something for which I have told you, keep your laptops ready, because there are ways in which you can find requisite material very easily. And people say that, okay, when I used to do these operand and things, I started in 2011, and there are 2 contributions that I made to this academic field. I'll be discussing about them with you all in just few seconds. People used to say that you just go on Google and you write a paper, and now see what the world is doing. You are, because of the lockdown, you are at home, you do not have a remote access of LexisNexis, Culliber, Gestor, Hen Online, Manupatra, and you are doing Googling. So everybody is forced to do it, what I was using voluntary long time back since 2011. So there is something called operands. Even after this particular lecture is over, you can just go on Google and type operands. How you can use operand will be useful for you. You can also use Google Scholar to find out requisite material for your research papers. So first thing is, if you have a laptop with you, just try write PDF law review, and anything that is there in your mind which you want to research. So I'll just share not exactly my screen, but I just broke my laptop a few days back, so it will be tough to share the screen, but I hope something you can see here. PDF, law review, enforced disappearance. So PDF is a file format, law review is a keyword, and enforced disappearance is my topic. So I'm getting articles from Yale University, coreac.uk, Barclay University, Murani University, OCHR, ICJ, Academic OUP, Cadmus, and STU, Stanford. So all the articles that I'm getting are authenticated articles, mostly by international universities. So especially even if you forget everything that I have discussed in this workshop, please do not forget this. This single one term operand will make your life easy in terms of research, because this is Google will show you 10 things in one, and you can go you can find another 10 options. So maybe 100 article you can download with a single search term. PDF is a file format, law review is a keyword, and your topic is your search term. So if I have to do on child labor, I'll write PDF law review child labor. If I have to do it on, let's take trafficking, I'll write PDF law review on human trafficking. So I just keep on changing my topic. Furthermore, if you are doing a research on an area which is not from law, you may not get desired material in terms of law reviews. So let's take it's a topic related to economic. What you can do is PDF economic review on your topic, PDF psychological review on your topic, PDF science review on your topic, PDF sports law review on your topic, PDF cyber law review on your topic, technology law review in a topic, IPR law review in a topic. So you can also remove this word law and you can place it with economic, political science, whatever you feel like. You can also replace this if you're doing an interdisciplinary research. For all the law students, PDF law review in your topic is a buzzword that will always give you desired material. If you're not able to get it, just drop me a message that we are not able to get on so and so topic about by doing this particular method, because if there is anything available which is authenticated, this will give you. The next is PDF annual report on your topic. These, I said that there are two contributions that I made to Indian academics is by just designing these two terms when I was in 2011. PDF annual report and topic is that there are a lot of material which are in format annual report. So corporate social responsibility have an annual report, rape has an annual report, trafficking have an annual report, literacy have an annual report, cybercrime has an annual report. So you can look forward for annual reports. Not necessarily all topics will have annual report, but if I just type PDF annual report enforced disappearance, I'm getting a lot of material which are in format of annual reports on enforced disappearance. So after this, there are a lot of operands. As I said already, there are a lot of operands that you can use for your research. So I'll show you one more operand. I'll show you something called which is called strict sense search. So I have just written my name, Nitish Kumar Upadhyay, and the options are 2,18,000. But if I place a plus sign without any space in front of Nitish, this will give me only 6 options. And all these 6 options are related to me. So plus sign is used for strict sense search. Let's take you are researching on child labor in Bihar, but every time it is showing you data from Punjab and Haryana and other places, you want to refine it. What you can do is child labor, space, plus sign, and Bihar without any space. Plus sign with Bihar without any space will give you all the material on child labor related to Bihar only. Now, if there is a use of plus sign, there is also a use of minus sign. You can remove something. So let's take, I am searching for human trafficking in West Bengal, and every time it is showing me data from UP. So what I can do is I can just type human trafficking, or 2 options are there with me. Either I can place a plus sign in front of West Bengal, or I can place a minus sign in front of Uttar Pradesh. So I'll write minus Uttar Pradesh without any space. Google will remove everything where there is a Uttar written over there. So nothing will come which has a Uttar Pradesh written in it. So this is one way how you can refine. The next is you can also use asterisk mark, which is there on tab number 8. So if you do control and 8, asterisk comes. Asterisk is for wild search. So let's take, you are not sure what will come in middle. Corporate social responsibility or corporate criminal responsibility or corporate environmental responsibility. So what you can do is you just write corporate, mark this asterisk sign and write responsibility. Now Google will show you corporate social responsibility, corporate economic responsibility, corporate criminal responsibility, corporate environmental responsibility also. So this is for asterisk mark for wild search. Then there is also use of triple dots, tilde and all, which you can do. So I have already told you this, because of paucity of time may not be able to discuss all the operands, but you can use it. And the best thing about these operands is you can use all of them together. You can use more than one time also. You can club, you can design your own operand. So the best beautiful part of this research, online research, is that you can design your operand. So if I have to find let's take a conference, I run a website, and for me finding conference is important. So what I do is PDF conference or workshop or seminar on legal or economic, and I just hit, and it gives me all the conferences that are coming on law, legal or economics or political science and things. This or is important because Google does not take care of more than 36 words. It never takes care of anything which is in hypercase and lowercase, but there is only one exception to it, and the exception is that or, and this or is written in hypercase. So let's take, I'll just share my screen with you. Wait for 2 seconds. So what I did is now I'm searching for 2-3 things together. So I'm searching for child labor or child sexual abuse. So if I just use or and both O and R in hypercase, then Google will show me random results. So first is child labor, then National Commission for Women, child sexual abuse, child exploitation abuse. So I will get a lot of these material in maybe just one random search. So if you want to search for 3-4 things together, you can use or, and this or, O and R, both are in hypercase, and on left and right side, both they have a space. Please do not make them join with any word that you are searching. Otherwise, the operand will lose its importance. Okay, so you can use or for finding 3-4 things at a time. If you are not sure what exactly you want to research on, you can use or and you can find it out. Then there is also double quotes that can be used for your research. Double quotes research is little tricky because even if you make a mistake of a spelling or a word or single extra word you will use, Google will show you no results found. So if you place anything in double quotes, it means strict sense search, and also sequential search. So if I write Nitish Kumar Upadhyay, then it will always show Nitish Kumar Upadhyay. If anywhere it is written Kumar Upadhyay Nitish or Upadhyay Nitish Kumar, it will not show. So this is for double quotes is for sequential search. So whatever you have to search, just place them in double quotes, both the side and kind of a quotation. And if you click, you will get desired results. Then there is advanced search option in Google. Most of you do keep on Googling throughout day, but at least on student part, faculties must be knowing about it. You do not know about advanced search. So for doing advanced search, you have to go, if you type this, I have typed child labor and go on settings. In settings, go on advanced search. And a page like this will open, which will ask all these word, exact phases, language, if you want to have it, any language, region is important. So because if you wanted to, let's take you are doing a comparative study between India and UK. So you place the country, let's take I'm doing it with Albania. So I'll select a country, Albania. Now child labor data from Albania will be shown. Next is last updated. So anytime will give you maximum results. You can also, let's take if you want something very new, you can also fix up a time period for a month or a week. So for me, when I'm searching conferences, I want recent conferences, not the old ones. So I fix up a time for a week or so. And then it also asks whether which file format you want. You want a PDF, you want a PPT, you want a Microsoft Excel or a PowerPoint. You can select, and then there is an option. You can say advanced search. Now I'm getting all, see my first result because I have said Albania, child labor, UNICEF Albania is coming. Okay. Also, there is another way of doing this, that you can download the Google of that particular country. So let's take you are researching for Belgium. What you can do is you can download Google Belgium, and it will show you all the material that is from Belgium. You can also select Belgium in the tools in terms of countries. So this is the way how you can find a lot of material. In terms of writing article, Charu ma'am, do I have 3-4 more minutes?
Yeah, sure, sir. You can.
Okay. So in terms when you have to write articles, no doubt we will be taking questions regarding your career and everything once the session is over. But when you have to write down an article, first thing that you have to do is you have to narrow down your title. So let's take if I'm saying that, okay, my topic is so and so, I'm researching on child labor. I cannot research in child labor in India because the ambit is very big. I have to read about all the types of child labor, for begging, for camel jockeying, for sexual things, and for domestic work. And also I have to look for all the gender, all the age factor. So maybe I can narrow it down. Child labor in bangle industry. So only I'm talking of bangle industry, or child labor in bricklayer industry. Or what I can do is child labor in Haryana. So I'm only talking about child labor in Haryana. Girl child labor in domestic work. I am only talking about girl child, and that's too in domestic work. So my PhD topic is bride trafficking in Haryana. So a type of human trafficking can be done for sexual exploitation, work, domestic work, organ transplantation, a lot of other things. So this is for marriage purpose. And I'm not talking of groom, I'm talking of bride. I'm not talking of complete India, I'm talking only of Haryana. So you can frame a title. The next is introduction. The major mistake that all the researchers do is to start writing introduction. The best part is to write introduction in the end, when your article is complete. If I ask any one of you to introduce me, you will only be able to tell me about my qualifications and all, but you cannot introduce me properly, what kind of person I am, whether I'm a sports person, whether I am a, whether I'm very studious person, what kind of background I'm having, what are my marital status and things. So for introducing me, you need to know everything. That's why you say we are giving a brief about the person, because you're actually giving a brief. So whenever you are picking up a title, make sure you're not writing introduction in the beginning, write introduction in the end. Then go for the next chapter. That could be constitutional background or constitutional law related to a particular topic. Let's take child labor, constitutional law. So article 23, 24 talks about it. Or historical background. This can be two different sub topics and can be a single head also. So you talk about historical background and constitutional background in the same chapter. The next you can do is national laws and international laws, and you can also discuss case law, national case law, international case laws while discussing these chapters. After that, there could be a chapter called problem, reasons and consequences. So what is a problem because of child labor? Child labor problem is the child will not get right to education, will be abused, and a lot of other things. What are the reasons? Reasons: no parenthood, lack of literacy, poverty. What are the consequences? This child labor, when will grow up, will never understand the value of education, and maybe his child will also be a child labor. So this is a consequence. So you can have 3 different chapters, or you can have 1 chapter, and then you can have the last chapter as concluding remarks and suggestions, and then go for a bibliography if you want to provide, if that have been asked. There is no single format that somebody can say that this is the way, this is the right way of writing an article, because if one solution, one chemical has to be added to one chemical, only one reaction was possible. People tried different things and they have got different results. So with this, I will not say that this is the only way of research writing, but this is the one of the way of research writing which I do. So this is my way. What else could happen is sometimes you will see the journal ask for 3,000 word articles. Sometimes they will ask for 10,000 word articles. Harvard sometimes even ask for 20,000 word articles. And my dissertation was 24,000 when for my LLM. So every journal will have his own citation style and things. If you want to have a citation style, let's take you want to, you don't know how to cite, then only go on Google, write PDF quick referencing, PDF, write it down somewhere, please everyone. PDF quick referencing, PDF quick referencing, and now the style that you want. Now the style that you want. So maybe if let's take, is I'm audible because I cannot see any. Okay.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
So let's take, you write on, just I'm sharing my screen, let's wait for a second. Okay. PDF quick referencing. And let's take, I want Blue Book, 19th edition. PDF quick referencing 19th edition will give me from Arjun Patiala. First document is there, second is from DU. So you can very easily, what you can do is you can just go and you can see these material and download, because otherwise a Blue Book is 560 or 570 words, which will be a problem for everyone. So better to download a quick reference. And now what you have to do is you just see the quick reference and you come back and you place as you are seeing the quick reference. So if Something is written in bold, you also do a bold. If something is a full stop, you also write a full stop. If something is a comma, you also do a comma. Okay, so nothing, you need not to remember it, because these will keep these things will keep on changing. Now their 20th edition is going on. Maybe after some time some other edition will go on. So this way you can find out this way you can find out anything that quick referencing or anything that you want of any style. So you want Oscola, you want a blue book, or you want MLA, APA, you can get it. So this is the way how you can write a good article. You can find out good material, you can do a footnote. And now I end up with this particular session, and if there is any question that you people have, maybe in the end of the session you can ask. Thank you, ma'am. This is from my side.
Thank you,
This is
sir.
end from my side of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for all the information.
Thank you, Nitish sir. It was very informative, and we
Just hold,
really.
ma'am. I think I have some problem because
You are
even if I
you
try,
are audible.
my voice is there. I cannot hear anyone actually.
No, you are really you are audible, and we can clearly hear you. There was no problem at all.
Okay, now it's fine. Now I can also hear you.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ritika,
Yes,
over to
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, sir, for all the information. Now, Miss Sunas Khurana will take over it from here.
Now, I would like to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Sonika Katyal. She's currently practicing as an advocate in our Honorable Supreme Court and in various high courts. She has a vast experience in drafting of commercial contracts and international arbitration, especially of UK and USA. She is a legal consultant to various global companies and provides them consultation regarding their contractual liabilities and on various issues related to international arbitration. Besides this, she has been practicing corporate law. Ma'am, welcome.
Thank you so much, Sonal. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So today we will be talking about law firms. So during our law course and during the 5 years of law, we just imagine how to land a job in top law firms or any of the law firms, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And today I will just throw some light on how can you achieve that, what steps do we need to take to do such a thing, and what are the areas we need to focus on, and how can we improve ourselves, and we need to find out things that will interest us. So from the beginning, we all have certain advantages, disadvantages in us, and we need to find out, we need to ask ourselves, what are those? For example, for some people, it might be the perfect English, the ability to speak, write, and communicate. So we need, if we, for example, when I started, I could not, talk so much or speak so much, or did not know the legal languages and how to converse in those things. So what I did to improve myself was I started reading a lot of articles, blogs, started reading judgments for that matter, to understand what the complex language is and how can we simplify that, because that is one of the most important part of being a lawyer, that we can understand the complexities, the language clearly, and that's our USP for that matter. So, and also the perfect communication and the perfect knowledge and the words, the vocabulary is very important, because it also reflects in our CVs when we go out for selections in the law firms. So and this, apart from this, the other things that we need to focus on is the things like, for example, like I always wanted to have a career in intellectual property rights. So what I did for that was I started reading news, the blogs, the articles. I started researching a little more about the topic, and I wanted to keep myself up to date with respect to the same. And I was also interested in arbitration, so I used to see all the arbitration rules. I joined courses. So we have a couple of online courses these days to, keep our game up the notch and to have an upper hand over everyone else. So these days, our competition is not just with the classmates we have, our college students or the college students we know apart from our own college. For example, like mine was IP University. So apart from IP University, I have to compete with all the law colleges. So for that, and to have an upper hand over all the other students, it's very important to recognize which areas I want to expertise in, what are the areas of interest I have, and make them my strong points for that matter. So for this, if for example you have a proximity to the law firms, to courts, to arbitration institutes, you should be very vigilant. You should have touch with all these things, and proximity is the best thing you can ever have to these places. What you can do is put in some extra hours after your college and go to these places. For example, when I started second year, when I did my first internship, I used to sit in the courtrooms and listen to lawyers arguing, listen to various cases that were going on in the court, to just to get a glimpse of what actually arguing final arguments look like, what is the things, what are the things you should understand to tackle the counter questions that are asked, and what are the things you might miss on. And one more thing, which is very important, that everybody makes mistakes, and you can also make mistakes, but you should have the confidence. And if there is a mistake you have committed, ask questions. If you are not comfortable with anything, and if you think that you don't know about this, ask questions, as many as you want, and but correct yourself, be up to date about everything and anything you want to do in that area. So for this, how do you prepare actually to land yourself in a good law firm? So with this, if for example you have to get these internships after the second year, we are told to start interning after the second year, or after in our second year also. So for this, if I'm interested, for example, in mergers and acquisitions, I'll have a course done by then in mergers and acquisitions, so that when I go for internships, they will be looking for something in me to hire me for an internship even. Because when I used to apply for internships, one of the HR manager I had a word with told me that they have around 1 lakh to 2 lakh applications in 4 to 3 months, and they only go through the 300 or 200 applications when they are going to hire someone for the internship. So for that matter, you need to have something in you which they can spot, and they can say, okay, we want to have this person in our law firm, and we want to see how it goes with this person. So for that matter, what I can do to be the one who gets selected is that my area of interest is IPR. I completed a course, I specialized in it, and that was my thing. So when I am mentioning and I'm forwarding my CV to someone, to some law firm, to any law firm I have my eyes on, I will highlight that point in me, that I do have this knowledge and I want to work with this law firm. Will make me or my CV come to the top, in the top 10, or get selected any which way. So, for example, if you feel that your company law knowledge has to be fortified, there are short-term company law courses. That is your solution. You need to go through those courses, study them. So, for getting into a law firm, the right time, you have to choose the right time to start working towards your goal. For example, if you want to land yourself into a tier 1 or tier 2 law firm, and for that matter, any law firm, if you want to practice and get yourself into the law firms, you need to start working on it from first year itself. So, or if you don't do that in your first year, that's fine. Not too late, not too early. You can start it in your second year. The things you want, you need to first focus on the areas, then start working towards it. Get yourself updated about it. start applying for the internships. I know it at time it gets pretty hard because obviously there are so many applications, so many law students out there. It's not important that it's not necessary that you will get the internship, but that doesn't mean that you will never get the internship. You just don't focus on one law firm itself. If your aim can be one law firm, for example, I say Anand and Anand Associates, I know that they specialize in IPR. I want to go for them, but that's not the only one I will go for. I will have my other options open in hand, and I apply for 10 or 20 law firms. And it is not important that I have to land for Anand and Anand. I can land for some boutique law firm also. The major aim here is to get the knowledge about your area. So for these, we also need, and what do the law firms look for skills in you? Major important factor is that. For example, now I am a founder of Technolect International Private Limited. It's an IPR specialized firm. And we deal in trademarks, copyrights. We've started our venture in patents. We are looking for patent application, litigation, and everything. So when I will go for hiring someone, or if I will want to hire someone, what skills will I look for? So first major important skill for an internship also are the research work. So the research, the person should have research qualities. He should be aware of what we are talking about, or what the legal research and how it is done basically. So for this is one of the qualities every law person or law student should have. So when I started my career, legal research was something which was expected out of me as an intern, and I was given loads of research work to do. I was expected to complete the same in a pretty good time, and any late or any delay would tarnish my image, or will say that I'm a lazy person or something like that. But how can you do with this? You can start doing it from day one. You can do research works for various topics. Like for example, if IPR I talk about, and especially when we talk about intellectual property rights and trademark, the research work is very important. Before filing any trademark application, you need to go a background check, proper background check. Your homework should be done way much earlier than filing the application. And for that, the research skills are the most important thing, because you don't want your clients to land into problem or any kind of trouble. They should never be facing that. So for that, I have to do a lot of research, and work on my skills. And it's very critical for the lawyers. So we cannot just take any article or news on its face value. We can use sources to basic understanding or initial information, but ultimately we need to find the answers through authoritative binding sources, such as statutes, decisions by the high courts and Supreme Courts. And for this, another skill which we need to have for law, from a point of view of a law firm, is that we should be able to do the research work through, and we should know how to operate Manupatra, the Law Finder, Law Pack, SSC, all nine. These are some of the keys and some of the things we need to have knowledge about, and how to operate these things. Because if you have knowledge about all these things, people at the law firm will actually really appreciate your skills, and you might land a job while interning there, and after your 5 years law is completed. So second point we will come to is the due diligence point. When the law firms go out looking for interns, they do also look for someone who has the due diligence skills. Due diligence skills is something which, like, the lawyers are always the overworked junior lawyers basically, or the interns, to be able to do the due diligence of, you will always be given the contracts drafted by a lawyer, and they will give it to you for proofreading. What to get knowledge about the proofreading, the contracts, what are the transactional contracts, how are they drafted, what are the major points. These things are very important when you go for to work as an intern, or you want a job at these law firms. So in the beginning of the career at law firm, you might feel that okay, this is something which I didn't know, or this is something you may think that this is something I didn't want to do, but these things will actually help you a lot along your career. And these things you will realize on a later stage that they were very important. So another important thing which can get us a good law firm job is a drafting. The drafting, obviously we all know, is not that easy, and we can never say that a person is perfect in his drafting, his or her drafting. It takes years to get that perfection in it. But when we talk about drafting, the basic knowledge of it can be related to the contracts also. For example, like the license contracts, the trademark assignment contracts. So when we talk about such, we should know that how these draftings are done. The bullet points of it should be within our knowledge, so that we can portray these skills of ours and this knowledge of ours to our seniors. Then negotiation is another important point. Negotiation, obviously, we don't do in the very beginning of our career. It's something which comes to us so at a later stage, because in a law firm there are stages when you get start working. So the beginning will be when you work as an intern. So when you're an intern, you will not be expected to have the negotiation part in your hand, or you won't be able to do that for a long time. But later stage negotiation skills are required, and it's the most important thing a lawyer must possess. But if you already practice it, or you watch your seniors doing it, you observe them, and you develop that skill. It's not important that we all have that skill since the very beginning, but if we develop that skill, that's a very important thing for us. So these things are something which are very which can actually help us a lot. Apart from this, there are some soft skills also. The soft skills for us include the research. We have to build a habit of researching, not only the legal research part, but also the research part where we can talk about, where we have to research about the people, the organizations. And it's very important that we do this in the beginning of our college time, or during our course study, because sometimes when we land up in a law firm, we might not like the environment, or we might think that this is not our area of interest. For example, when I started my law, I was very much interested in banking, the banking sector, the property sector. And when I landed one of the internships in that sector, and I worked with the people in those sectors, so I found out at the end of the day that this is not my area of interest. This is something I don't see myself doing it in the long run. Done another internship in an LPO, and there also that was all about contracts and everything, and for which I actually did a course earlier than that. Before joining that place, I did a course online. I studied what are contracts, what are the major points of it, how do you draft it, how do you review it, what do you mean by redlining, what is expected out of you. But then again, I thought, okay, this is something which I will do, but this is not all the things I want to do. So it is not important that you have only one area in which you master. You can have one major area in which you master, and you can have another small areas where you want to explore things. So when I finally did my internship with an IPL law firm, then I realized the fact that, okay, this is something which I want to do in the long run, and this is something which I will work towards. But again, these are the questions you have to ask yourself much earlier, before you graduate, before you get your professional degree. So you have to ask yourself, where do you want to go? And then you have to research about it. For example, for my knowledge, I still use a couple of websites. Like we have IPS Sisters website, we have Spicy IP website, where we get the blogs, we get the articles, we get the latest news on it. So we get to know what are the latest trends, what is the latest news. I have subscribed to many e-letters which I get in my inbox every month, and I read them just to update my knowledge. So another soft skills, if we talk about, we also have networking and relationship building. So to work in a law firm, it's one of the most important things is your skills, your educational academic skills, and your power is that. But another power is networking and your relationship building. Then you have your confidence. If you're not confident enough in what you're doing or what you're saying, then others won't believe you. You have to be confident in that wise. You have to communicate effectively to the other person. You have to listen to yourself when you think, and if you think that whatever you're trying to explain is confusing the other person, you have to work more on your skills so that, the other person gets to know what you're saying in first go. You don't have to repeat yourself the second time or the third time. That lowers down your impression. Then you have to get the skill of collaboration. So while working in a law firm, I learned it a hard way, that in the beginning, I could not take the things, or I could not, in the beginning, I could not work as a team with them. I work for myself, and I thought that, okay, I have to learn this, I have to do that. And it leads you into problems. So collaboration with the other team members, with the law firm members is very important for you. You have to learn to get into the teamwork, to work that ways. And one of the major things is the ability to learn and adapt quickly. So this is the biggest and the most essential skills for any lawyer. So you have to, if there is something new come up in your way, and as an intern, you have no choice over which lawyer or which team gives you work. So in some law firms, you are even circulated around in different teams. So and you might have your area of interest like arbitration, but you're given the bankruptcy related work. So you may think, okay, this is not my thing, I cannot work here or something like that. But you need to adapt yourself, and you would need to learn the things quickly, so you don't lose the chance. So even if you land your jobs in the law firms, it's very difficult, and you have to do everyday work to maintain that position and to get on with that job. And you need to, and another important thing, which is the first and the foremost step when you are looking for something you want in the law firms, you have to, like sir already mentioned it in his lecture, that we have to look for our CVs. The CVs have to be very clear as to what we want to communicate, what we want to convey to the person who's going to look at our CV. So for that, the CVs have to be not only your educational quality, educational academics experience or anything. Like, apart from that, like the articles you might have written, the blogs you might have written, or any of the moot court competitions, or any other skills you think that will impress the person who's reading the CV, should be written in your CV and should have a space for them and highlight them in your CV. So for example, if you have done any of the, so for Indian law firms, there's one thing that we do not, they don't look for someone who's an all-rounder. Like if you have any street plays done or any, other work done in the sports field, they will look for someone who has the skills, who has the, for example, if you say that you are interested in contract law, they will look for what skills do you have in the contract field? What have you done towards it? So your internships, for that matter, where have you interned? For how long have you interned? And we are not, when we talk about internships, you should not be just doing it for a month and then think that, okay, this is fine, I've done it for a month and this will be all. You need to do it on a regular basis. You need to find out in advance where you want to go, how you want to apply, and where, in what way is it going to benefit you, for that matter. So, and you have to also learn to explore the regulatory sides. You need to learn how to operate with them, how are they going to benefit you, and all the other things. So when we talk about the CV, then the cover letters and the CV are the most important things, because that is you, for you, these are the marketing documents, right? Like advertisements we look at. So even while printing any advertisement, they do a lot of research. They even do tests for the words and the phrases that will get more attention or are getting more attention. They try and use those things in their ads so that they gain more attention, and to increase their customers, their consumers. So you have to be very thorough with the CV and the lines you choose and the way you are writing this things in your CV. So we do have the sample CVs, and Harvard University has published certain CVs which they consider are the perfect ones, and they can go. One should do in that way. Your CV should not be long. We know that this is a very normal thing, that CV should never be that long, because no one is interested in reading a 4-page CV. So you should keep it to 2 pages, or a single page will also do. But the cover letter and this should highlight what qualities you have, what are your areas of expertise. So these things are very important when you talk about your law firm experience, or you want to land a job in the law firms. For me, it was very difficult in the beginning, but things got easy, and then you understand, and when you participate in different years. So I used to participate in global IB conferences. I used to go there. I used to watch the moot court plays they do in the conference itself. And not only this conference, I used to attend other conferences also. I keep even now I keep looking and researching for conferences which are happening in the year, and when are they happening. I book them in advance, and I make a point that I go there. I look at the people who are going to come. For example, the Global IB conference I attended last year, there was Anand and Anand, there was these biggest law firms from, and people coming in from Calcutta. It was a global conference. I met a lot of people. This gives you an insight. So when I'm thinking of getting into patents, I'm doing my homework. This way, everyone needs to do your homework. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. Sorry, I just think something is wrong with this.
We have lost your voice. You're not audible, Sonika.
I can hear you, Sonika. It's fine.
Okay, I can't hear.
Uh, that's
Am I
happening
audible?
actually. Some things. Yeah, you're
Yes,
audible. You
ma'am, you're
continue.
audible.
Okay. Okay, sir. So you need to keep doing these things, and when we are looking and we have our eyes on something, so the most important thing and the most important skills one has is the determination power. Apart from when you say, okay, some people have the destiny, and I think the most important is not destiny. It is a part of it, but the most important thing for doing something big in your life, or reaching and landing yourself into biggest law firms and being a part of them, is that you have the determination to do those things. So, and you can never shy away. Don't shy away from asking questions. I still ask questions. I have done it before. I used to do it when I was in college, and I still ask questions wherever I think, okay, this is something which I think I am not able to get it the right way, or if I have any confusion regarding anything, I still ask for things, and I don't shy away in that case. And if you shy away, or you think that, okay, I should not be asking this, people may think that I don't know, I don't have the knowledge, or I lack this thing in me, then it is not going to you. So the first things first, that you should have the confidence in you. You should have something which you think will keep you up, or will have a play, will make you place in a better position in the game, and will give you a benefit over the other people. And this is very important for you, because we have a lot of people coming up for the same thing, for same job, or for the same position like you want. So, and the best way out is when you want yourself to, or when you see yourself in a law firm working for them, and learning and getting the exposure you need. So when you're interning these, do something in your internship to earn their respect. And like so that you can also get a PPO from them. So make them come back to you, do something, make yourself knowledgeable enough so that they think that you're an asset to them, and they can't let you go off. So and in this way, these internships, the law firm internships, and when we talk about law firms, it's not just the tier 1 law firms who are going to get you your dream job or anything. You think that this is only this law firm, or for example, I say Luther and Luthras can only give me the position I wish. You can, if you don't land a job in these law firms, you can work in a, you can get your experience from a boutique law firm, from tier 2, tier 3 law firms, and in you can get yourself into the law firms you wish to, or once you have graduated, you have the knowledge. The most important is that you do have experience in that field. And if you start off after your graduation and you think, okay, now is the time I need to sit down with myself and I need to figure out what are the things and where should I go and where I want to succeed in, that is not the right time for anyone, because that way you're too late. People are too early these days. When you talk about law firms, they start getting internship forms filled up and places filled up by January, say. If you have an internship in May or June, they have their applications filled out in January itself. And then you have to wait for another 3 months to get their answer, get their reply to you. And sometimes you don't even get the replies. So you have to be very vigilant that way. You should be applying continuously, and you should be doing things continuously, and you should also follow up. Sometimes we just apply and we sit back and we think, okay, if it doesn't if they don't reply, and if I don't receive anything from them, don't hear anything from their side, it's fine. No, you need to follow up with them, ask them. You can do whatever it takes to, but make sure that you don't let your 1 month internship go in vain, or you don't do anything. And when second year or third year students go for internships, we generally have not completed or covered so much in our law schools. So when we go for internships, they think that, okay, this is a second year person, he must not be knowing that much, or his knowledge was not that up to date, and what work can we give him, what can he do. That is where you need to portray and you need to put forward your skills and learn more in your internships. Oh, again, am I audible? So I can't hear anything, I can't see anyone.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
you're
Yes,
audible.
ma'am.
Okay, so these are some of the ways I believe that will help you when you are applying for your internships next time, and will help you sort out in your mind, and confirm things and areas of interest, and see. And it's fine if you are not so if you have not planned out since the very beginning that you want to do this or you want to do that, because we have a lot of this is a vast area. We have so many fields. You can decide and you can see for yourself. Like I said earlier, that IPR only came to me after I had done 2 of my internships, and I had realized by those internships that, okay, this is not something where I want to be or where I want to go in future. So took me time, had my experiences, and I've learned from those experiences. Because of those experiences, maybe today I am able to do commercial contracts, landed me into arbitration because of my experience. So it will definitely help you in future. So we don't have to think that, okay, I wasted my time, or this is something where I did not want to do. So, and that will be finishing from my side. And I'm happy to answer the questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to ask some questions on the behalf of the auditors. Ma'am, first question is, what is the scope of doing LLM in abroad after doing LLB in India? Which countries would be better to do LLM in abroad? And is there any problem in doing LLM from abroad, as law school will be different in their countries? How to do the LLM in abroad?
So when you are going for LLM, you have to see your areas of interest. And like, for example, if I want to do my LLM in international arbitration, the rules, the international arbitration, the code of conduct, and everything is similar. And we have our own Arbitration and Conciliation Act drafted, and in collaboration with that, and we have things like if I want to go international arbitration, I will look with the universities that are the top 10. Or and for them, if I am looking for something, for example, if I want to do my LLM for Berkeley Law School, or if I want to do a specialization in IPR from, say, we say Harvard, for that we need to circle down what are the things that are needed. Like so pointed out that when you go for something, for a LLM, you need to write papers. They might ask you to write papers. They might ask you for a presentation to be made. So we need to circle them these things down, the major points, and then we select it where we can go, which will be the best option for us. Because but from what I feel and from my point of view, LLM, when you want to work on a global level, will help you when you want to get yourself into a law firm or litigation. But and otherwise, it is the best thing when you are choosing any other field apart from practicing in the court.
I'll just add to what Sonika has said. I have a very different view in terms of LLM. Choose LLM if somebody is sponsoring. If you're getting a scholarship, go for it. If it's your dad's money, please do not waste. Because see, you are eligible to be a lawyer as soon as your 5-year degree is over. So if you want to go for a law firm, a 1-year degree and a 1-year experience, I'll always prefer a person who has a 1-year experience more than a person who has a international degree. If you want to come for academics, or you want to just have a big tag name with you that, okay, you were studied from so and so places, then maybe you can take a chance. But it's always good that you go for a scholarship, because if somebody comes in front of me and say that I am from a Yale University, I'll say, okay, Yale University, good enough. Which scholarship you got? As soon as you say, okay, I paid and I've gone. So I said, anybody can do. There are 100 people in this chat room, 95 people are eligible for a Yale. What different you have done? So be very clear why you want to go abroad, on whose money you want to go, and what outcome you want. So there are a lot of people who say that if you're doing LLM from India, you are only eligible for academics. Why? Because see, we are in LLM in India are not discussing a lot of things which are otherwise will make you a company ready or a market ready person. We are again beating the bush, again teaching you human rights, which you have gone in 5-year course. Again, we are teaching in LLM. So that's why we know people say that Indian LLM is good for academics, because we are not giving any hand-on experience to them. In terms of international, they keep on clinical legal methods there. They teach you through tabula rasa. They teach you through jigsaw groups and different things which boost your personality. So this personality that comes out.
Sir, your mic has been muted.
So you're not audible.
I'm audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just received a call. This is something happening. I can see my face 3-4. So I'm just sometimes like on the whole screen, it's me. So there is some problem with the system, I think. Anyways, so for choosing LLM, be very wise and make sure build your CV, go for a scholarship. Even let's take, there is a person who studied from Yale without scholarship and you just got 100% scholarship in Queen's Mary. I tell you, people will prefer you because it makes it, the scholarship word itself makes a difference.
Thank you, sir. The next question is how to prepare for JAG.
Sonika, are you taking this question?
So I might, because I did appear for JAG.
Yeah, great. Do it.
So for JAG, when you're going for JAG, the most important thing is that when I was appearing for it, I did a lot of things that I studied and legal reasoning questions that come up, and I made this a point that I am thorough with every part of the exam that's happening. I'm so sorry for the.
That's okay.
So when you're appearing for JAG, the things you need to be, it's not just the legal reasoning part or something, but it's also about, you have to accept the fact that you are going to something which is a very dignified field of law, and then you have to be a person with full of confidence, full of knowledge, and not only mentally but also physically. When I appeared for that, I realized one thing, that for the 4 days span period when I was there, I realized that okay, this is something which I've never done in my life. They make you sleep at 10. in the night, and they make you get up at 4. When I was preparing for the first exam, the legal reasoning exam, they woke us up at 4 in the morning, and we were made to stand in the it was winters. So it was 2nd of January, and they made us stand for 1.5 hours. So that was another kind of test which we had to go through at that point of time, and it was actually by the end of that we understood that okay, this is something. And you for there, if you want to stand out, the confidence level, the determination to be there when you want to become, you get yourself a person and enter into the army sector, it's very important that you do this. And I think so can add something better than Nitish sir.
Hello.
Ma'am, next question is LLM necessary for judiciary and corporate field?
Can I take it, this question, Sonika?
Yes, sir.
See, LLM is not required for judiciary. You only require 55% marks to clear your judiciary, and for
Sir, you're not audible.
preparing for judiciary, just do one thing.
Sir, your voice is cracking.
My voice is cracking. Okay.
So I think there's
Is
a
it
problem.
fine now?
Yes, sir,
Yes, sir.
it's fine.
Okay. So in terms of for preparing for judiciary, I said that you only require 55% marks. LLM is not at all required. This is a grace period that sometimes some people take it as an option that, okay, we do LLM, we also keep on preparing for judiciary. So if judiciary, we are not able to crack, at least the academics is an option. This is how people take this, but this is not necessary. Second thing is you have to zero down what is the syllabus of that particular state judiciary which you want to appear, because every state has a different syllabus. Some states even have linguistic over there, which they will ask you to have a Gujarati or Bengali over there. So you need to figure out which state you want to appear for judiciary. And then when you zero down the syllabus, you find that, okay, these 20 subjects come in judiciary. Make sure from the first year, you know when these subjects are coming, and you are getting 65% in other subjects, fine. But you get 95% in this because you have to clear judiciary. So this is the best approach of preparing from the day one. So it's not that you join Rahul Academy or any other coaching center at 5th year and you can be a judge. So you need to be very clear from the day one for preparing for judiciary. LLM is not required, only 55% is required. So people who are even getting 95% are wasting your time. You can compromise your 10% for writing research paper and going for conferences and learning something which will be worth, discussing it with somebody rather than just 95% in your CV.
I'll just like to add something.
Yeah.
I also appear for judiciary, and I was also told the same thing which sir rightly said, that okay, this is the important LLM. You should start your LLM right now. So because even if you don't get your judiciary exam cracked, you will somehow enter into the academic sector, and you can start your profession there in any field you like. But as rightly said, it is not important, it is not required. It's something which you do out of, if you feel like going for an LLM in specializing in something, then do it. It's not going to help you in any way.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, what's the benefit of BCom LLB in corporate sector?
So should I go for it?
Yeah, you go for it. I did a BLLB, so I cannot go for this.
Even I but BCom LLB, yeah, we do have corporate sectors asking for BCom LLB. It does help you in a way when you are into corporate sector, because you get to know a lot of things and you get the advice. So for example, like I do work for global international companies. So my work is quite diversified there. So I do look into their balance sheets also. I do look into their articles of association also, memorandums of association, their asset liabilities, everything. So having a knowledge about something is always better. And if you go for BCom LLB, it is definitely going to help you in your future. And we do have corporate law firms coming up with the same also. They have this requirement that anyone who has a BCom LLB will be preferred. So in a way, that is going to help you. It's not that a bad thing.
Okay, next question is, what are the other options for LLB graduate other than corporate and judiciary?
Other than corporate and judiciary, you can practice. You can, if you have already invested your 6th year, invest 1 more year, and you can be into academics. You can also start your startups. You can start a boutique law firm, not just joining a law firm, creating a law firm you can do. And you can join banks. Banks have legal officers. You can join Maharatna, Navratna companies, PSUs and all. You can also look forward for government jobs in legal field as a researcher and all. So you can join quasi-judicial body, NHRC, HSRC, and Women Commission, Child Rights Commission, and also there are plethora of an opportunity nowadays for law. Law is something that have gained much popularity in last 6 years, and we have seen that there are around 1600 law colleges and universities in India now, which was just 10 years back, which was not even 700. So we have seen this mushrooming because there is a lot of scope of law, and you can just choose anything. Even there are people who are, after doing law, they are opting for MBA, and then they are becoming HRs, and they are becoming legal heads and legal managers of big companies. There are people who are doing a specialization in corporate social responsibility, and they are becoming CSR managers. So there are various opportunities for us. You need to just zero down what exactly you want to do and how you have to go about it. Now, Sonika, if you want to just speak something about this.
So I think you've covered pretty much everything. But yes, we do have a lot of other opportunities just for, we can say, apart from getting into judiciary, or we do have, like sir said, State Bank of India exams where you become the legal officer. We do have the option of, getting your own startup. I have my own startup, and for that way, you're not working in a law firm, you have your own boutique law firm. So you can become an entrepreneur that ways also. There are a lot of other options, not just these two.
Okay. So, ma'am, that's all for the questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now I have an important announcement for the auditors. Please fill the feedback forms from the link sent in the WhatsApp groups, as it will be easier for us to mark your attendance and prepare your certificates. Also, the responses to the Google